Yeah. Start.
Right. Yeah.
Okay, we'll call this meeting to order. For this public hearing. Things have changed up a little bit for the joint meeting that was to follow. That has pretty much been canceled, but we will keep one item on our agenda for after the public hearing. So, purpose of this public hearing is to receive public comments on the Village of Canton's Restore New York Round 7 funding application for the Midtown Plaza Revitalization Project located at 19 Minor Street here in Canton. Project involves demolition and remediation of vacant commercial structures, the reconstruction of a mixed-use building, which will house the SUNY Canton Entrepreneurship Center with additional commercial space and 44 market rate apartments. Lee, do you want to give us some oversight on what we're talking about here? And,
Sure. Lee Rodriguez, I'm the Director of Economic Development, and as the mayor stated, we are submitting an application to the Restore New York program for the Midtown Revitalization Project. So we're here to take your comment on that, and also there was a property assessment list published that lists all of the properties that are involved. There are 6 parcels, and I want to point out that there was an error in the publication. If you can see on the last page of your handout, line number 6, it indicated it was parcel 2. It's actually parcel 4. If you look at the map. Line 8 stated parcel 2, it's actually parcel 4. And line 10 stated parcel 4 is actually parcel 2. So I just wanted to make that clarification, and that will become clearer if you take a look at the maps that are in the handout as well. So just to summarize, as the mayor stated, the idea is to acquire those 6 parcels. 5 of them are owned by Gary Cohen. The 5th of the 6 is owned by Vern Green. There's a development group on board who will carry out the project. Those structures would be demolished, and we anticipate the need for abatement of hazardous materials, particularly asbestos in the tiling. So we are requesting funding for demolition of the structures, abatement of asbestos, and also for reconstruction of a new 3-story building on the 1st floor. It'll be about 22,650 square foot footprint, and you can see the existing parcels on the 1st page here. And this is the new concept for the new structure on the following page. It will be 3 stories, 22,650 square foot footprint. And up 3 stories. The 1st floor would be approximately 15,000 feet of it would be for the SUNY Canton Entrepreneurship Center, and the remainder would be leasable commercial space. And the upper levels would be, it's actually 45 residential units, 1 and 2 bedroom residential units. And the goal at this point is to make those market rate apartments. That is the plan as it's being presented right now. The overall budget for the project is over $20 million at this point. So that is the gist of what we are proposing.
and that's what's going to be in the application to Restore New York.
Correct.
Okay.
We are asking for $2 million, which is the maximum we can request for a village our size, but we're also asking for $10 million as a special project. They award only a few special projects throughout the state. But we feel like this has a good chance and fits the requirements, so we are requesting that. So we'll be requesting a total of $12 million.
Okay. We'll take public comment if anybody would like to comment on where we're headed with this. Give you 3 minutes a person, if you would stand and identify yourself.
I'm Brett Thatcher, 15 State Street, but I also own 12 and 14, my wife and I, Park Street. What is happening along the back of this property as far as access for the properties that are now currently served by going behind the library?
The plan allows for that to remain open for parking.
it's, you know, it looks very crowded here. This is very well done to scale as far as. You know, those trees,
This is a conceptual drawing and,
I just want to make sure because,
Yeah.
you know, there's several properties besides our own that are relying on access.
well, they rely on access, but they're, you know, you're going through someone else's property to get access.
Certainly, but it's always been, people have always been going across that,
Yeah.
you know, as well as the post office before it's part of there.
Well, there are currently some leases that are in place with the post office for parking. Those exist, you know. We don't see this as trying to prevent anybody from access to parking or to
Right.
their property.
Because, for instance, the access that used to exist between 14 and 16 has been permanently closed off.
Yeah,
It, you know, is voluntarily closed off prior to our ownership. But now because of the village having established parking and a curb on the sidewalk on Park Street, it's completely closed off. You used to have access to that point.
is that something you want to have reopened?
Well, if there was going to be an issue here, no, because what the reason it was closed down was people used to drive through there,
Right.
use that as a way. And of course, they still search for a way out.
Yeah, we're not, it
Yeah.
doesn't, you know, there's property through there that, you know, we don't anticipate, you know, closing anything off there.
Good.
You're still gonna have that access, so.
Just want to make sure that was,
And, you know, those are the things that need to be addressed as we move forward with this, so.
Okay.
Your comments will be noted and any final design would certainly you know, accommodate.
Right.
Your comments.
thank you.
Comments?
Commenting, I guess.
Yeah.
Basically, one of the problems I've had, and I've talked to some people here about it too, is. You know, basically, the only time you go on SUNY Canton's campus is if it's for a sporting event or graduation. I think they should be putting their opportunity center on the campus. And I firmly believe that. And if you talk to somebody in the street, I took a person who's been in town for 6 months and never been on the campus before, didn't even know it really existed. And I think that college marketplace is getting really tough right now. And I think we've got to do everything to expose that campus.
Comments? We're here to hear your comments and then make it part of the record as we move forward.
I'll
We'll take one, can we just go one at a
Yep.
time here and
Go ahead.
we'll come back to you.
Yeah,
Uh,
I just had a quick comment.
Your name? For the record.
I noticed that there's a lot of beautiful trees that are planted in this area. And I commend the committee for putting those in because there's nothing like a nice tree that enhances the village. I just wondered, what's happened in the past is when the village kind of plants a tree and the tree dies, nothing ever happens. Would there be some kind of commitment that you would maintain these trees? If one died, it would be replaced?
Well, this would be, you know, the way this is set up, this would end up being owned by a developer. And that can be certainly stressed as part of our,
So it wouldn't be part of the.
ultimately, this is,
No.
no, ultimately, this is not a project that the village will own, that SUNY Canton will own. The developer will develop this and they will own it. We will have the ability to work with the developer on what we want, whether it's trees or anything else like that. You know, those things, as this moves forward, if it moves forward, those are the things that will be part of any planning that goes on. Because it would have to meet planning and zoning guidelines.
And I think it would be in the best interest of the developer to keep up their property, which would include trees.
Well, you think that'd be the case, wouldn't it?
You would think.
Anything else, Lance?
More than enough, thanks.
Okay,
I was just going to add that Pamela and I are enthusiastically supporting this project as far as, you know, the fact that we are butters, but also just because of what it's going to do for the downtown, we think it's really important.
Thank you. Other
Um,
comments?
I'll just.
Go ahead.
I'll just address the comment made by Danny Fay. I appreciate that sentiment, and that's why our plans include an entrepreneurship center also on campus. The two centers will work in tandem with one another to provide the maximum level of opportunity for both our students and community members. There's lots of other things that we're doing that bring folks onto campus, and we're working hard as the person who oversees our public relations office. I know we're working really hard to make the campus visible. I saw a SUNY Canton commercial actually during the Bills game, which is kind of fun. But you know, that comment is well taken, and it's always part of our goal to make sure that we're bringing people onto campus and that awareness of SUNY Canton is being raised. We also think having the opportunities for entrepreneurship downtown, including housing our small business development center, will be really good for the local and the regional economy. Do you have anything to add to that?
Just to expand slightly on what Lenore mentioned. Among the projects that we're involved in, and most of you have probably heard about it, is we're also working to build a childcare center that would serve the community on our campus. We've gotten some funding for that already. And we're actively pursuing the rest of it. And we're hopeful that both of these, well, all three of the projects, the downtown center, the childcare center, and the on-campus entrepreneurship center, will secure the funding that they need over the course of the next year. Be very exciting.
Thank you. Comment? No? Yes?
Well, yes, my one thought is that.
Please state your names, please. before you
Eric
speak.
Eric Chittenden. My one thought is that in reaction to what both Dan said and Lenore. Is that in fact, another way of looking at this, especially having heard the plans about some of the activity going on the campus, as well as what Dr. Javon has added, is that this indeed is exposure of the colleges in town, right, in the village. So one of the things I've observed through the years is, especially in more recent years, is that one can drive through this entire main street and you honestly wouldn't know this is a college town. I mean, there really is not, really aren't a lot of retail businesses and so forth that would be more of appeal to the college and those kinds of activities. Having more things that are related to the colleges, both colleges, on or downtown, I think that would be my comment.
Thank you, Bert. Anyone else?
Yeah, I'll talk. Mike Catanzaro, I don't think there's a more important issue facing this community long-term than this back here. So I commend what's happening and I hope I see it. And I appreciate the swing for the fences. I am a little concerned that, I mean, the whole cost is 22 million.
Just over 20, it's less than 21.
And how much of that is grant? And you said, I was counting, it was like 12 or 14 million in grants.
We are requesting from this program 12 million. They reserve the right to award us less than that, of course. SUNY Canton and their foundation have raised some funds already towards this project. If you want to, can you clarify the amounts? 2.6 million from an earmark, which is federal funding.
Correct.
And then
1.35 million from Empire State Development through the CFA process that was awarded in 2019. And 111,000 from the Northern Border Regional Commission, which is to be used to outfit the entrepreneurship center space once it is constructed. So the way that the federal earmark and the EST grant work is that those are specifically for the construction of the entrepreneurship center portion of the project. That's what that money is to be used for. The Restore New York program is broader in its scope and in its available uses for the funding that include residential units, demolition, abatement, all of those things kind of the comprehensive cost of a project like this. And the
Right.
purpose for going for the full amount is I think like you said it well, swing for the fences.
Right, right.
Get as much as we can.
But the question is, who's gonna own the fence? And we're, we're coming to state, whoever is coming up with an inordinate amount of money to have an outside party own it. Am I correct? Not own it and control it.
Mhm.
And so I think it's a valid concern, given that we've been held hostage for the past 25 years that I've been here by this situation here, that we're not trading one bad situation for another. So, I mean, that's one concern. And I don't mean to be discouraging, I just mean have to be realistic, that there's a lot of public money being put into this endeavor, which apparently is the way it has to happen, but we're giving an awful lot away. But the other concern is, what's plan B? Is this, the village board has met, the town board has met in this office for as long as I've been here. And looked out this window at that, and it's gotten completely, it's gotten worse and worse and worse, and it's not only just in the infrastructure is deteriorated, but the number of businesses that have been discouraged over the years is stunning. And if the swing for the fence doesn't work, what's the call to bunt just to get on base and get some movement? And I don't necessarily need an answer.
No,
This is about comments, and
Yep.
I just think that's an
Well,
important.
to be honest, that's a question that needs to be answered as part of our application.
Okay,
So the development group that we're working with we've been engaged with them since 2018 roughly. They've done other projects in the community. They have ties to the community in various ways. We've talked with them about a different scale of project potentially. If all of this funding doesn't come through. We've talked about other ways of accessing funding by doing low-income housing. There are more funding opportunities for low-income housing that could, and tax credits also. This property is also part of our brownfield opportunity area, and there could be brownfield tax credits for redevelopment of that space. So those are discussions that we're having. And those are sort of in the back of everybody's mind. But the swing for the fences is the first step. And we should have an answer, I would say, within 90 days on this funding stream. They're pretty quick in their response time. So we'll wait to see what the response is here and then regroup and go from there based on what that response is.
all right, I don't want to keep talking, but. So you're telling me that the $22 million is to end up with a finished product? Or
Yes,
is that then will be owned by somebody else?
yes.
So what is the developer's financial stake in this?
Well, they'll be financing, is it 6.8 million, I believe?
To do what? I mean, so
Construct the.
the project
building.
is actually, so our part of it is 22.
No, the entire project budget is
Okay.
20 million plus. I
So-
don't have the exact
So,
figure with me.
okay, so that's a question. So they're putting up 6. They're putting up
Actually, is it-
basically a third. Is that it? That helps.
Yeah, roughly, it's more like 7.
The financing and the grant financing is necessary to make the project feasible. Even with market rate apartments, it's not a good return on their investment because the costs have gone up so much in the last 5 years.
Right.
The lending rates have gone up.
Right.
It's not feasible without grant assistance.
I get it. All I'm saying is that, I didn't have the information, that's why I came. And so to walk away knowing that a third was being borne by the people who are investing, who are gonna walk away owning it, is a little different than 22 or 21 million being put up by, whatever public sector. Because, honestly, there are a lot of businesses in this community that have done it for years, don't get the actual funding or grant funding, and we're inviting another group in to come in. I don't know necessarily they're competing, though they may be. And we're kind of giving them the present with the bow wrapped on it, which again, if that's what it needs to solve this mess, then that's it. But I also don't want to think that at the end of it, we're right back into a similar situation where we come up with all this money and basically lost control of our community, which is what happened.
The budget figure we're at currently is $20,635,749.
Could I add one thing to that as well? Lenore Vanderzee, SUNY Canton. Part of the reason why SUNY Canton has worked so hard to secure the grant funding that we've secured so far is that will ensure that we get a lower, like a nominal or zero cost lease for our entrepreneurship center, which means that we'll be able to run it more sustainably in the long term. So that's part of why we've been working so hard with the developers to get this grant funding in place for the entrepreneurship center portion of the project.
My guess is there's a lot of chips we could push to the middle of the table that maybe some folks should sit down and think about, but that's neither here nor there.
Eric?
Eric Chipman again, correct me if I'm wrong, I think there's a parallel and haven't happened here before. In that this very same source of funding, which is the Restore New York Fund, I think is correct, was part of a public-private development of bowling alley.
Yes, it was.
So that there was public funds in
Yeah.
there, but that building property is now owned privately, not
Yes.
owned by the village, not owned by the state. So it's a similar kind of thing already having happened.
That's the same program that we're applying for. It has not been available for quite some time. That's why we're taking this, looking at this opportunity to try for it. It was around, that was this past year, that we got an award for a new business. And we're taking this opportunity to try to bring this thing home. This has been here for a long time and we all know what it's been. We're stepping up and trying to make a move here. With the support of SUNY Canton, as basically an anchor in this thing. We're hoping that this will spur business here in our community. That's what we're after, so. But all your comments are important to us and as we go forward with this. Again, we don't know where we will land here, but this is our attempt at trying to do something good for our community. Any other comment? More comment?
I do have one more question, and that is, had people thought about the possibility of property tax advantage once such a complex was built?
That is certainly on our minds, that there will be a tax advantage and a developer would get certain tax advantages to begin with, but the ultimate goal is that this is taxable property. And that it will improve our tax base. That's an important piece of this.
Is there a thought to who might live in these apartments?
There's market surveys have been done. You want to address, what we're being told in our market surveys? I know that's a part of all of this. But there's been a view that we're looking for homes for professionals, short-term, long-term. SUNY, the hospital's been approached about some commitments to to this. St. Lawrence has been approached. Claxton has been approached. They're bringing professionals in back and forth, some on a temporary basis, some on a long term. There's a need for people that need a place to live until they can find, more permanent homes to live in. So, our surveys have shown that there's a demand for housing and a demand for better than what we have currently in our stock. So.
There's also a great need in our community for folks who want to stay here, who want low to no maintenance property, downsizing perhaps from their larger or older homes. And this provides an opportunity for those folks as well to stay in our community as they get older, their kids move on and they want to retire here.
So there's a host of input that we've received when our economic development committees have done, market surveys. Looking for what's needed in our community, what we're being told by employers too.
I guess. I think part of the reason we're in the situation we're in is because we haven't leaned into our code enforcement. To be gentle about it. And I think there are ways that we can craft the future for this community that we wish through local laws and codes. As an example, in terms of who's living there, a lot of people, like when I was on the ZBA, a lot of people would come and they say they're gonna build these for young professionals. Who ends up renting them are students.
Mhm.
And I'm not so sure that would necessarily be the case here, but there are tools available to our community to make sure that we're shaping the future we want, and I hope that that is part and parcel of this swing at the fences.
Anyone else? Okay. Board, anything? You're all set. Okay, there's no more comment.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh.
Go ahead, Dan.
And basically, when I simply say that we're gonna have 45 new apartments in here at market rent, right? And they're being built with $10 million. All those apartments look at to existing homes. And we've even seen, basically, I'm not in a position where I'm in complex housing, like how apartments and those are. But I wasn't gonna say anything because I am on, and I think I know the market fairly well. And basically, when I hear about surveys, who did the surveys, who got the money, who are we talking? And I don't like to see those answers. Okay, that'd be fine.
Okay. Anything else? Okay,
Thank you.
thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
This public hearing is closed. And
I know you gotta do your job.
Nothing else.
Me?
Yeah.
Sure.
Me? Yeah. Well,
we'll give it a minute then.
we've done everything.
Okay.
Then we'll go into the next
Agenda.
part of our meeting. Give it a 3-minute break. How's that?
Welcome.
It's not recording.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, let's call this meeting to order so we can get out of here.
We'll get her in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
The one item on the agenda that's left is, well, we're not obviously having the joint meeting, but we have to approve a resolution to apply for the Restore New York grant. That has been circulated to you. Any of the board have questions about that?
Questions?
There being none, I would entertain a motion.
So moved. Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye.
I just want to put on public comment that I really appreciate the efforts that so many parties have put into making this happen. As a kid who grew up in this community, it has hurt my soul to have that be a crater for the better part of half of my life. And this is something that needs to happen, and I really, really appreciate all the efforts going in. And let's reclaim our community. So thank you, everybody.
Okay, anything else? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. That motion carries. I have nothing else. So I will entertain a motion to bring this meeting to a conclusion. So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you.
Be safe, folks.
That's gotta be
Yes,
a
please be
record for
safe.
meetings. I was